Hi everybody, hi Tamar. Today we're going to talk about the Iron Throne. We're going to break it down. You know, the Iron Throne in the story has become somewhat of a pop culture phenomenon. Talk a little bit about it.
The Iron Throne was built by Aegon the Conqueror. The story goes that it's made out of 1,000 swords, melted swords.
So the throne itself is made out of the swords of his enemies.
Yeah, why are you acting surprised?
I don't know, I've never heard about it before.
It's a symbol.
Why?
It's a symbol of unification. Basically what he did, he united the 7 kingdoms, the 6 or 7 kingdoms,
Right.
and took from them like the symbol of their sovereignty and
Right,
the symbol
independence.
of independence and their right to use
Right.
force. So basically took their guns away, like Obama wants to do.
And he wants to prepare a chair made out of guns.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like we talked about in this episode here. The Leviathan is the concept that it's like the mythical creature. It's like the symbol of a consolidation of power.
Right, and that creates stability in order and minimizes the infighting and civil wars.
Yeah, and
that's
that-
like a recipe to end civil wars.
Yes, and the Iron Throne is like the symbol of it. If you are like a aspiring lord who watches around the corner to replace the king, you see this symbol of unification, this
power.
symbol of humiliation, of power.
Humiliation,
And
right.
then you feel small, like a cathedral. You enter
Yeah,
this
right,
cathedral,
right.
you feel like in awe towards the magnificent
Right.
power of Jesus.
That's the purpose. Okay, so on the one hand it is humiliating, but on the other hand, it's kind of an incorporation of everybody's power into the most important symbol of the realm, the Iron Throne. That's a throne, right?
Yeah.
The throne is the symbol of a kingdom.
Yeah, it's the symbol of the sovereign, and in these times the sovereign was the king. And in the story, you can see the genius of he with a capital H, that he inserted this anecdote about the Iron Throne that it's supposed to be not uncomfortable.
You can't be complacent.
You can't be complacent.
And also, it's not a good, if you rule for your whole life, you better be, I don't know, engaged.
Yeah.
You can't fall asleep on this throne.
You can't fall asleep.
Okay, so let's talk about thrones in history. A few examples.
The throne in Versailles, it's a little bit similar to what happened in Westeros.
Okay.
Louis XIV built this huge palace and throne rooms with everything in Versailles, which
Not
is
in Paris.
not in Paris, the traditional place of the king.
Okay.
And all the noblemen and all the court people and all the lords came to his palace away
Right.
from Paris. Like it's a way to separate him from the rest of his subjects.
Right. So this is interesting because thrones, with this historical example, we see there is a lot of psychology of ruling behind them. For example, in the Japanese thrones and the Chinese throne, they had a different psychology behind them.
10年来，从未有人上殿敬寡人百步，可知为何？
刺客猖獗，
不错，
So the psychology is that also you are separate and you are above your subjects, and you cannot trust them unless they prove themselves
Yeah.
to be worthy.
It sounds a little bit weird to us modern readers and watchers, but this kind of symbolism is very important in a society which has no basically written constitution that defines inside the institution of the state their relationship between the
Right.
sovereign and the subject.
Right.
So this is weird for us
Right.
that why do you need all these ceremonies and symbols?
You need that to be able to rule.
Exactly, you need that like the gorilla needs his silverback in order that the other small gorillas will look at him and say, okay, he got the silver on his back.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with him.
We are human beings, we are very sophisticated, but we need to remember that we are still apes in some ways.
Okay, so this is a great setup for this episode's bold prediction. So Itamar, what is your bold prediction regarding the Iron Throne?
In a sentence,
Please.
there won't be an Iron Throne at the end of the story.
No Iron Throne?
No.
Why?
No. Why? Because I want to be special, and that's the first reason. And the second reason is Westeros on the brink of we are inside of a civil war,
Right.
and
In the midst of a civil
in the midst
war.
of a civil war.
Right.
You know, the White Walkers are coming, and
No
winter is
Leviathan in
coming.
Westeros.
No Leviathan, and the dynasty that established all this Iron Throne.
Right. There will be no Targaryen restoration.
No, and so something about this symbolism of the Iron Throne has already started to crumble inside of society.
It's not relevant anymore because the king doesn't have doesn't have the loyalty of all his subjects. The
And,
kingdom is falling apart.
And if we believe that it won't be Daenerys that will sit on the Iron Throne, there won't be, and also in this video we say that there won't be any dragons to enforce this threat of melting your guns, you know.
Right.
So they will have to replace it with a new symbol.
Right. That is relevant to the
That
kingdom.
is very,
Right.
maybe more like of a round table than of a throne. Not necessarily like from the Arthur legend.
We're not to the round table, our shows are for mid-table.
There will be a throne, I think, because it's still an important symbol.
But more inclusive.
More inclusive, yeah. And if we look at history, we see like in a process of a few hundred years that started at least since the Magna Carta in the 13th century, that the king and the monarch shares his power with others.
For survival.
For survival of himself, and the kingdom.
Right.
Because if you give someone something to hold, and you give him some power and some responsibility, like a lord or a cabinet minister or whatever, or merchant even, he won't be so eager to replace you because he derives his power from you.
Yeah, he thinks maybe if I will revolt, I will lose everything. I have something to lose.
Yeah.
And like and now in the Seven Kingdoms, if you still hold your one kingdom, it's not as if you have a lot to lose.
Yeah, in the Seven Kingdoms is very disorganized because it's more like a deal between crown families. It's not like you say, take this power because it's important for the kingdom and now you're a part of the kingdom, you're part of the sovereignty. No, it's take this, be the coin master because I owe you something, because you did me a favor and stuff like that. So you always put that in your mind. I need to give. It's not so different from politics today, but the risk of losing an alliance in today's time is losing the next election or something like that, and not losing your head.
And the politicians are representative, so maybe this octagon or round table will have like the representatives of each of the kingdoms will send representatives to the throne room, and they will govern sort of together, because this is what we see today.
Yeah, we also see Robert who didn't like to rule.
Okay,
so he gave a lot of power to this small council.
That's a good example because he became more of a ceremonial monarch than a de facto ruler.
Yeah.
So what are today's Iron Thrones or thrones?
Symbols of power are today, they are inside of the government buildings. Like the house of the Prime Minister in Britain, in 10 Downing Street, and the Oval Office, in the White House, the Élysée Palace in Paris.
So the symbolism of the Oval Office, like the president has his chair and has his desk, but then he can go to the sofas, and there everybody is sort of equal, and there's like the cabinet table that's more egalitarian.
And you can sit beside him, and you can tell him he's wrong, etc.
Yeah, but still the symbolism is that you have, even if you're like his closest friend, you call him Mr. President.
Yes.
So there are still some kinds of symbolisms of powers because, I don't know, human societies have decided in some way or other that we need it.
So today, the authority also need to be derived from your position.
Right.
Like if I'm a teacher, I won't want my authority in the classroom to be only derived from my position as a teacher. But when I enter a new classroom, I need to, first of all, establish that because I am a teacher, I have authority on you.
Right.
It's not that simple in today's time, but this is the first thing I need to do. Like I need to establish my authority.
And you can stand up and they have to sit down. And you have one chair and they have
in some
other
schools
chairs.
They rise up when every time they...
That's how it was when I was in school in Europe. Every grown-up that entered the classroom had to
some
stand
schools are today using that as well.
I didn't like that.
I didn't like it as well, as a teacher.
Right, I wouldn't like it either as a teacher. Okay, so bottom line, if there's no Iron Throne, who will sit on the like this round table, whatever?
We, in this video over here, think, believe, and want, and wish it will be Sansa. We won't get into details
Right.
now.
But you should. But you better watch it because.
Yeah, we have at least 2 videos that discuss some part of it. It's a funny thing that if you travel around Europe today, most of Europe, and you see all these palaces, you know,
Right.
even churches like big, humongous buildings, and it's funny that today's palaces became museums, you know. So maybe they won't destroy the Iron Throne. They just put him in a museum next to all the dragon skeletons.
So maybe in 500 years in Westeros, people will go to the Red Keep and enter the throne room and just take pictures around the Iron Throne, which is kind of what people are doing today with the Iron Throne anyways, come to think of it. Okay, so let's wrap it
thought
up.
about everything. I thought about everything.
Okay, so if you have a different opinion about the Iron Throne and its fate, be sure to mention in the comments. And if you like what we do and you would like to help us do as much as we can about Game of Thrones and the Bible and history, you can check out our link to our Patreon page in the description. That would be an awesome help. We've been getting a lot of love from new patrons, so thank you very much, people. And like if you enjoyed the video, right? You liked it. It was, I think it was cool. Subscribe?
You said?
No, you don't have to subscribe. But if you really want to, the button is over there, but don't bother. We'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.